Have you ever wondered if aliens exist? I know it's a blunt introduction, but we live in a world where this is a recurring news story on mainstream media and is frequently featured on podcasts and YouTube channels. If this podcast may sound like a lecture, it is not my intent. Such a topic, although it is very interesting to say the least, is also a bit heavy for the average listener, perhaps a bit philosophical, but most of all, it has hidden aspects that nobody has mentioned except a few enlightened people on this planet. I will discuss it with other people in the near future, bringing other voices into the podcast, and try to make it sound more interesting. So please bear with me and don't judge a podcast by its format. You may miss the opportunity to ponder on aspects of contact that you might have never heard about them. Let's continue. Most people don't seem willing to buy into the idea of life beyond Earth's biosphere and dismiss it out of hand. What does science say about the existence of alien life? Scientists are deeply divided in their opinions. Some are convinced that alien life does exist based on probability theory. The sheer size of the universe makes alien life appear more like a fact than a possibility. Others forcefully deny that aliens do exist because nobody has ever had contact with them, according to mainstream media. If we want to get to the truth of this matter, we need to dig ourselves for it. As they say, if you want to do it right, you need to do it yourself. In this case, we need to investigate ourselves based on what feels right to us. In a world filled with disinformation, illusion, and so much egotistic behavior, it is only appropriate to question everything. Not just about the existence of alien life, but about everything that we perceive in our reality, saying that this person has said it, therefore it must be right, must become a thing of the past. We need to have first-hand experience about something to have a genuine opinion about it. Subscribing to a point of view of somebody else without facts, based on what the conditioned mind is telling us, needs to stop. So, what about aliens? We need to be very clear about something. We are talking about aliens and UFOs or UAPs, whatever you prefer to call them. Are we ready to accept the existence of other intelligent beings within our reality? And how do we feel about it? Are we intimidated? Are we rejoicing? Are we uncertain? How would we react to the existence of alien life if we heard about it on the news tomorrow? Would we be afraid? Would we follow the news, glued to the TV screen to see whether they pose a threat or are inclined to lend us a helping hand with all the problems that we ourselves have caused and accumulated on this planet? God knows there are so many of them. Let's stop for a moment and consider ourselves as well. How would aliens perceive humanity? As an adult species? An immature one or a childish one? We kill each other by the thousands in petty wars because we feel separated from each other. Our thoughts and actions are based on ego and the conditioned mind. We don't even acknowledge that we are all connected, and we treat each other based on our societal status as we perceive it. Are we that naive to believe that we could judge aliens when our own house is in disorder and disarray? Humanity has so much potential, yet it chooses to squander it on useless aggression and the senseless pursuit of wealth, just to appease the ego, deliberately disregarding the larger reality. We continue walking on this self-destructive path collectively as if there is no tomorrow, because on some level we do sense that there is indeed no tomorrow and hopes subconsciously to escape this fate, each of us on our own. Some people, however, understand that this behavior is unsustainable and that we need to change. They understand that we survive against each other in our day-to-day lives because everybody is left to their own devices to survive on their own. We all need to have a job that takes everything from most of us and gives us only enough to survive day by day and from paycheck to paycheck. These people understand that we are all equals and that our society is not conducive to our participation in the larger reality that we are living in by repeating the old narrative. Go to school, get a job, work hard, retire. Yes, I forgot to add paying for a mortgage and the car loan. What is left for us to do and be in this life? An overgrown, conditioned mind that reminds us of our duties and obligations, while our hearts are silenced at the expense of the conditioned mind. These people understand that it is high time for us to survive with each other and not against each other anymore. And then there's abundant polarization, which is going to be the end of humanity if we don't drop it. There's nothing to gain from it. We can only lose from it. Lose our heads, lose our hearts, and lose our lives. We cannot continue living like this. Perhaps now we can perceive the size of our predicament. If we are open-minded, we will have to admit that we need to permanently give up certain ego-based attachments, like feeling separate from each other, avoiding being honest with each other, or restricting the information we share. There are more of these attachments that we must discover on our own. Those attachments are turning our lives into a living hell, and we are not even aware of it. Let's remember how we felt when we went to elementary school. Everything was new to us. We were forced by society to expand our horizons. And that was a good thing. When we were children at school, we met other children. We were hesitant at first, but slowly we got used to being with other children. We were all happy. Mostly. Of course, we had our differences with some of these children, and things got sometimes out of hand, but that's normal when you're a child. Meeting alien visitors from the stars is like going back to elementary school. We are being forced to accept a reality that most of us don't want to accept currently. We don't want to face the unknown, the fear, and the uncertainty that comes with meeting intelligent life forms that are not human and have not evolved on Earth. We don't want to accept a reality where humanity is not alone in the universe because we do what we want on Earth, and no other intelligent life form on Earth can oppose us. Perhaps it's time to reframe our perception of reality. We have two options. We can pretend that a reality where aliens exist is not real and continue to wage war among us. Continue to gather wealth that we cannot spend within 3 or more lifetimes. Continue to be prejudiced and judgmental against our fellow humans. Continue to be dishonest with each other and maintain our walls around us, fostering separation. After all, It's what we know. And knowing something gives us some form of familiarity and security against something humanity never encountered. Or we can be bold, look into the mirror, and change ourselves for our own benefit and indirectly for that of others in the process. Change how we treat each other. Change our outlook from being fearful to feeling curiosity. Change our attitude from feeling separate to feeling united and interconnected with each other in ways that exceed our current perception. And we can take steps to educate and familiarize ourselves with the potential collective gain for humanity following open contact with other civilizations beyond Earth. This choice is slowly presenting itself to every human. Every time they watch the news showing, for example, a fighter aircraft pursuing a UFO, unable to harm it during its attack because the air-to-air missile it launched bounced harmlessly off the UFO or another UFO, performing erratic movements with such speed that apparently defies the laws of physics. These encounters have shown us that there is something there that we don't understand. But instead of trying to understand it with the curiosity of a child, we choose to deny it with the anxiety of an adult. Most of us are being distracted by what's going on in the world now, where the strong prey on the weak, where layoffs dominate the news again, where survival anxiety begins to burden even further our already aggravated, conditioned minds, and continue to keep us imprisoned on the polarized prison planet named Earth. However, behind closed doors, hearings are conducted, whistleblowers are testifying, and secrets slowly come to light that were meticulously kept since the last World War. I am referring to what is commonly known as disclosure. That's a concept referring to public dissemination of top-secret government information pertaining to classified investigations and research on UFOs. This situation is developing right under our noses. We don't know how much information is being declassified and won't know until governments decide that it is time to go public with it. Until then, we have a limited amount of time during this year of 2026 to get our house in order. All of us. On any level. That's because the confirmed existence of intelligent life among the stars is not something that will be regarded by humans all over the world as mere sensationalism in news stories after top-secret UFO-related information has been disclosed and becomes public. We can't just go back to business as usual because we can't ignore the emerging status quo. It is simply not possible. And that disclosure is coming, sooner than later. So, what can we do at this time? And more importantly, how can we be? The most important aspect in our lives now is self-care. We need to take care of ourselves, not just from the perspective of being able to sustain ourselves, but we also need to respect our bodies. We need to eat appropriately by focusing on a high-protein, medium-fat diet and by eliminating carbs as much as possible. Watching carefully what type of carbs we eat makes the difference between a healthy gut or a diseased body. We need to move away from processed carbs and don't look back. Sweet comfort food must become a thing of the past because It increases inflammation and promotes insulin resistance and obesity. I know from experience. You can hear more about this topic on my health-related series. Mental health is also important. Taking care of the body properly is going to lay the foundation for a life with much less anxiety and depression. This has been confirmed scientifically. I am planning a relevant episode for my health-related series. Once the body becomes healthier and inflammation is decreased, then the conditioned mind is less aggravating and allows the mind to focus on the tasks we give it. Instead of constantly reminding us about our duties and obligations, as well as what we need to do to survive, life does not become easier, but we notice that we can navigate it with more grace than before. We focus on what we need instead of what the conditioned mind wants. The difference is immediately felt by those who have followed this path in their lives. Next, we need to focus on finding our purpose and passions in life. Life will then acquire a whole new meaning, a meaning that will overshadow and weaken the conditioned mind. This way we can break free from the self-imposed prison on this polarized prison planet and finally live freely. I'm afraid only those who have found their purpose and follow their passions in life can understand this, because they are already experiencing this state of being. From the moment we consciously choose to heal the body until we begin following our passions in life, we are inclined to question what we hear from our leaders in society, government, and work, while we recognize our own value and self-worth. We realize that they are also humans with their own issues and shortcomings, and we immediately grasp our interconnectedness through this reflection. We are all humans on a quest to discover our own selves, while we are struggling to interact with and connect to each other. All this time, we are being misled by our own polarized perspectives, unable to understand each other like tribes speaking different languages. And then we realize that there is only one language that every human on this planet understands: the language of the heart. Usually, we speak this language only when we are in love, or as loving parents, or as loving siblings, and our conditioned mind doesn't allow us to switch gears and speak this language in every situation in life, addressing our fellow humans appropriately. This is when Earth ceases to be a polarized prison planet, and the golden age begins for all beings, man, plants, and animals on land and in the sea. This preparation for open contact with beings from the stars is necessary and unavoidable. We can either avoid this process or we can begin following it by changing ourselves. It is as easy and as challenging as we think it is, until we discover our purpose. Most of this process is about getting to know ourselves. By experiencing change and how we react or respond in the face of change, how we purge our ego-based attachments, how we integrate all our parts, and how we treat each other and every living being, is teaching us who we are and where we are going figuratively. This is a good thing because we are all pieces of a huge jigsaw puzzle that constitutes humanity. Once we know how we connect to each other perfectly, how we interact with each other appropriately, and realize our interconnected natures, we will then be able to forge a trail to the stars through each other and with each other as a united humanity and become sovereign galactic beings. The steps that I just outlined in this sequence make more sense if people consider them as stages in a master plan for human consciousness evolution, instead of perceiving them separately on their own. Because on their own, it's more likely that they might appear disconnected and optional. Many things in life appear disconnected from their deeper meanings, and when we realize that they are parts of a broader plan, then we are left in awe, contemplating the deeper meaning of life itself. But are we sure that other beings from the stars are benevolent? Or would we have to run for cover the moment they initiate open contact with us humans? Let's remember that ours is not the first civilization on this planet, nor is it the first one in our Milky Way galaxy. Why? Because the sheer size of the universe, as well as its age of almost 14 billion years, according to science, says otherwise. The beings from the stars cannot be malicious. Every civilization that overcomes the self-destructive phase that we are also going through as humanity right now must by definition be benevolent, since aggressive tendencies must be overcome to reach a state of peace-loving non-aggression and species maturity. Ultimately, we realize that everything we have experienced on Earth so far, and everything we are going to experience until we have open contact and beyond that point with our friends from the stars, will be just evolutionary stepping stones preparing us for our meeting with our extended family among the stars. After all, we are all equals from the perspective of consciousness evolution. We most certainly don't possess their technology, nor their advanced consciousness. But fundamentally, we have more in common with our friends from the stars than not, because we are all connected to each other. This interconnectedness among humans, which indigenous humans are fully aware of, extends to all life in the universe. This might be hard to believe, but it is merely the same concept viewed from a higher magnitude. We need to think in galactic terms from now on. We may be an anthill in our galaxy, but we are still part of a larger reality that we haven't experienced yet. Perceiving everything through the limited, oblivious, and separated vantage point of humanity as it exists today is denying us of our potential as well as the joy of meeting our extended family.